Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a pretty wild question. What if you could start a brand new country? Not with armies, not with elections, but with an online community. We are breaking down the really ambitious idea of the network state, a kind of blueprint for building nations in the digital age.
All right, so let's get right into the core motivation here. Why on earth would you want to start from scratch? Well, the whole idea is to escape the baggage of the past. To build a society on a clean slate based on values you actually share, instead of borders you just happen to be born into. It's all about creation, not conquest.
So, here's the crucial question. How do you actually do that? How can you peacefully start a new country today in the 21st century when it seems like the entire world map is already colored in?
Yeah, the traditional paths are messy. You've got elections, which are slow and super crowded. Then you have revolution and war, which are obviously violent and incredibly destructive. The author behind this whole concept argues that these old ways are just obsolete. What we really need is a new path, a peaceful way to create something new, not fight over what's already there.
Okay, so what makes any of this possible right now? The argument is that the very foundation of power in our world is shifting, and that shift is creating a pretty historic opportunity.
So if we look at history through this specific lens, we see this big shift in what the author calls the Leviathan, the most powerful organizing force in society. Back in the 1800s, you could say that was God. Then, in the 20th century, it became the state. But today, a new power is rising up to challenge the state's dominance, and that's the network. And this right here is the key. It's the technological truth that this entire idea is built on. As Julian Assange famously pointed out, no amount of violence can solve certain math problems. And what that means is that cryptography can protect information, it can protect assets, it can protect communication from the state in a way that was never, ever possible before. It fundamentally limits the state's power.
Okay, so if the network is this new center of power, what does a nation built on top of it actually look like? That brings us to the blueprint for what's called a network state.
Whoa, okay, that is a lot. That's the full one-sentence definition from the source material, and you can see it is incredibly dense. So let's do what we do here and just break that down into its essential parts to really get what it means.
So here are the core ingredients. It all starts with a dedicated online community. That community then builds its own internal economy using cryptocurrency. Then they crowdfund physical land all over the world to create what's called a network archipelago. They prove how many people they have through a verifiable on-chain census. And the ultimate goal? The endgame? To use that proven scale to get diplomatic recognition from other countries.
Now, this isn't just some abstract definition. The concept actually includes a practical, step-by-step roadmap for how a group could go from being just a simple online community to a diplomatically recognized state.
The key insight here, the thing that flips everything on its head, is that this process is cloud first, not land first. You don't start by claiming an island somewhere. You start by building an online community. This startup society then gets organized for collective action, becoming a network union. It's only then that it starts crowdfunding physical territory, building up a big enough footprint to finally go for recognition as a real network state.
Okay, so let's zoom out a little and look at the big picture, the future geopolitical landscape where this new model is supposed to fit. The argument is that the world is reorganizing itself around three new poles of power. So the first two poles are pretty much the dominant ideologies of today. On one side, you have the American establishment, which is represented here by the New York Times. Its core command is a moral one. You must sympathize with the approved causes. On the other side, you have the Chinese Communist Party, and its command is hierarchical. You must submit to the party's authority. But a third alternative is emerging. This is the global, decentralized internet, represented here by Bitcoin. And this is where the network state concept really fits in. Its core ideology isn't about sympathy, and it's not about submission. It's about individual sovereignty, which is enabled and protected by cryptographic truth. So you've got these three competing global networks. Each one has its own source of truth, the paper, the party, or the protocol. Each one has its own core command and its own economy. The network state, then, is basically the political system that's designed specifically for this third pole. It's the nation-state for the age of the crypto economy. And all of this brings us to the final, really provocative question at the very heart of this idea. As our lives get more and more digital, is our main form of government going to continue to be based on where we are physically born? Or are we going to organize ourselves into new societies based on the networks we voluntarily choose to join? That's the future this concept is asking us to think about.